Ghosted by my girlfriend of 2.5 years, I watched her post TikToks with friends while I felt disrespected. Her guilt was clear when she finally replied, saying she needed space to process. Now, 10 days later, I'm a mess. How do I move forward? TLDR, my girlfriend, 19 years old of 2.5 years, suddenly stopped communicating with me, a 19-year-old male, without warning. I noticed her posting TikToks and stories on Instagram with her friends, and I confronted her about it. She eventually replied to me, expressing her guilt and explaining that she was overwhelmed with school but needed space to process her feelings. I tried to be understanding, but her actions triggered my anxiety, and I am now feeling lost and distressed. It has been 4 days since we last messaged and 10 days since she began ignoring me. I need advice on how to move forward and what actions to take. Thank you. To elaborate further, I am a 19-year-old male studying at a university 3 hours away from our city, while she is a 19-year-old female architecture student in the same city. We have been in a relationship for nearly 2.5 years. The other Sunday, she abruptly stopped communicating with me. This had never happened in our relationship before. As an architecture student, I tried to be understanding, assuming she was simply busy and overwhelmed with her projects. We had previously discussed how to manage things whenever she was busy, and she indicated that she appreciated receiving positive messages of encouragement from me, where I acted as a positive pillar in her life, providing her with energy and support. Thus, I maintained that approach. For the first 4 days, Sunday through Wednesday, I did not mind her lack of communication. I greeted her each morning and evening, sent her encouraging and supportive messages, and commented on her project posts on Instagram, expressing how amazed I was. I trusted her, but deep down, I felt a bit upset that she had not communicated how she was doing or whether she would prefer that I not message her. During this period, I continued to see her posting Instagram stories, Instagram notes, sharing Facebook posts, and her status remained active. Then on Wednesday evening, I noticed she posted a TikTok she created with her friends. At that moment, I became really upset because she had been ignoring me for 4 days without any explanation. I confronted her by saying, "I felt disrespected by how you have been ignoring me," while still trying to be supportive and understanding. I did not want to come across as angry, so I reassured her by saying, "I understand you are busy and have a lot on your plate, but I am hurt that you have time for your friends but not for me." I also reminded her that if she could not reply and was too drained to communicate with me, that would be fine, but I wished she had informed me beforehand instead of just ghosting me. I emphasized that I could not read her mind and that if she needed anything from me, such as space, she should have told me. I concluded my message by reiterating my support, expressing my love for her, and stressing that we needed to discuss what had transpired. For additional context, I have always believed that relationships should not be suffocating. I am not the clingy type of boyfriend, and I consistently reminded her, considering her demanding architecture program, that if she needed space to focus on her academics, that would be entirely understandable, and she should simply communicate that to me. I trusted that she would be open with me, but I felt like she betrayed that trust by abruptly ceasing communication without explanation. The following morning, Thursday, she finally replied. She expressed her guilt regarding her lack of communication, explaining that she was overwhelmed by everything she was juggling. She stated that she felt unable to function properly and that she was completely drained. The TikTok she posted that I had confronted her about was merely her way of unwinding. All of them were architecture students. She agreed that we needed to talk but mentioned she would do so when she had the time. She also stated that she needed space and apologized for taking so long to express this, explaining that she was still processing her emotions. I once again tried to reassure her that I understood and that it was okay. I did not share how upset I was about her ghosting me, as I did not want to place any additional burden on her. I asked if she could provide me with a day when she would be free to talk. I felt this was a reasonable question from my perspective, as I wanted to have an idea of how long I should expect to give her space. However, she did not respond after that message. In the following days, I admit that I spiraled into a state of anxiety. I have a history of exhibiting an anxious attachment style, but I felt that throughout our relationship, I had learned to be more secure, as evidenced by my initial lack of concern when she stopped communicating. Additionally, I had previously experienced a year-long relationship with an avoidant person, which was the most toxic cycle I had ever endured. I thought that I had healed from those experiences, but her actions triggered past trauma, and I found myself in a downward spiral over the past few days. One thing she did mention last Friday was that she and her friends plan to visit a museum in our city to celebrate a friend's birthday. Upon seeing her post about it, I felt upset, as she had told me she was swamped with tasks and did not have time for me, yet she had made time to go to the museum with her friends. This only added to my frustration. Last Saturday, I believe I made a mistake by messaging her again. I knew she had asked for space, but my anxiety overwhelmed me. I attempted to be understanding, apologizing for reaching out while once more asking if she could let me know a day when she would be available to talk. She was ignoring me once more and I noticed she was online, so I confronted her, which I now realize was a mistake. I should have simply given her space. She responded by saying that she had not slept yet and was traveling with her family to a reunion, explaining how tired she was. I asked her again if she could provide me with a day when she would be free, and she sent a detailed message elucidating how busy she would be until the following weekend. At this point, I noticed that she had turned off read receipts. For those unaware, this is a feature in Facebook Messenger that, when disabled, allows a recipient to read a message without it showing as seen on the sender's end. I concluded this based on seeing her typing animation without my previous message appearing as seen. A message only shows as seen to users with this feature disabled when the recipient reacts to the message or sends a reply. She had disabled this before during disagreements, and I communicated that I felt hurt when she turned it off. She assured me she would not do so again, but her actions made me feel that she had once more betrayed my trust. Following this, I realized I was bottling up all my hurt feelings from being ignored and feeling sidelined for an entire week, and I unfortunately expressed how upset I was about being ghosted and how it felt like she had time for her friends but not for me. I genuinely wish I had not done that, and I recognize that my anxious tendencies were clearly on display, but I am trying to regain control over my emotions. I quickly unsent those messages. She can see that I unsent them, but I am unsure whether she read the original messages. I ended our conversation by expressing my hope that she could make time for me soon. It has now been 4 days without any communication from her, and she has not replied to me since. Additionally, it has been 10 days since she first ghosted me. This situation has been debilitating for me. I have been lying in bed all day. We are currently on a week-long break from school. I had initially planned to take her out on dates during this week since I would be back in our city. She is unaware of my plans, and I wanted to surprise her. But it is increasingly upsetting to realize that my plans may not come to fruition. We typically only manage to go on dates once a month due to our busy schedules, and I had hoped we could make the most of my free week. From my perspective, I believe I understand what I need to do. I have been doing my best to give her space. She did not provide a specific day when she would be free, but she did inform me she would be busy until next weekend, indicating that this will be a minimum of 2 weeks of us not contacting each other unexpectedly. The abruptness of everything hurts immensely. Moreover, I recognize that I need to regain control of my emotions, and that remains a significant challenge. I have also been processing my thoughts about everything that has occurred in anticipation of our future conversation about what transpired. Throughout our relationship, we have maintained good communication and understanding, so I was genuinely shocked by this situation. At this juncture, I simply need advice on how to proceed. How should I approach talking to her about everything that has happened? Do you have any insights or fresh perspectives on this situation? Did I do anything wrong, such as suffocating her too much? Alternatively, any words of reassurance would be appreciated. Thank you all for reading. This is my first time posting anything like this. Story 2. My boyfriend 23 said he's having doubts about our future, telling me, "I don't want to babysit you." After a night out with friends, he called me embarrassing. Now he wants space while I'm left reeling. Can we survive this storm of insecurities and secrets? My boyfriend 23 years old male and I 21 years old female have unfortunately argued, and it has led him to have doubts about our relationship. We have been together since April 2024, and this is both of our first serious relationships. There have been 2 instances where I was out with him and our friends, and yes, I consumed alcohol. He perceives me as a wild person, his words, and does not want me to stop having fun. However, if this is truly who I am, he does not wish to make me change for him. I have always been capable of taking care of myself. Even before I met him after nights out, I managed to get home and learned how to take care of myself without him. Since meeting him, he has helped me completely transform my lifestyle. I am fitter, I have started running, I eat healthier, and I feel better. I have always aspired to be where I am now, and I could not have achieved any of it without him. Recently, he was upset with me during a night out. He texted me not to drink too much because he did not want to babysit me. When I eventually saw him, he would not even make eye contact or speak to me. When we left, I sensed his anger. He expressed that I embarrassed him but did not want to ruin my night by telling me. He is troubled by alcohol due to his family's struggles with it and leads a very different health-oriented lifestyle. He has repeatedly shared how much he disapproves of others drinking, and he dislikes when people complain without making an effort to improve their situation. We only go out drinking and clubbing together, and my alcohol consumption is roughly the same each time. I suffer from severe anxiety and depression, which never helps in situations like these. I genuinely want everything to be okay, but I recognize that I cannot control or fix everything. I apologize to him and understand his feelings regarding drinking. He mentioned that he needed space, and this has prompted other emotions of uncertainty about our future together. He said there are other aspects of me that he does not like small issues he has tolerated but feels he should love all of me without wishing for change. This hurt me. I told him that I also have things I dislike about him, but I continue to love him and he is aware of that. He admitted it is a flaw of his and that he is not perfect either. I do not appreciate how he lies about watching pornography, how he never communicates his feelings, and how he always insists on having things his way. He requested a few more days of space to think. This is frustrating because I am very open with him. He makes me express my feelings and I can tell when he is upset or annoyed. Yet he refuses to communicate until it is too late and he bottles everything up. I asked him if he ever fears losing me and he said, "Sometimes yes I do, but I don't know what I am doing." He mentioned that if he had been in a relationship before me, he would feel confident about what to do. I replied that I also do not know what I am doing. He is so accustomed to being alone that he has never felt the need for anyone. He also noted that he never cared much for relationships in the past, but this does not mean he does not care about me. A person like him is just very content being alone and does not know how to navigate a relationship, which is frustrating for me. He is too afraid to express his feelings because he knows it will upset me, and I told him that I will be upset regardless. Now that he has unloaded all of this on me, I feel terrible. Not even 2 days ago, we were planning our overseas holiday, and now he says something like this. In the past, men have felt intimidated by how capable and organized I am. They have never liked that I earn more money than they do, work more, have hobbies, and still make time to pursue what I want. We argued about this when he felt he could not find enough time to see me. However, he also expressed feeling that he has no time for himself, the gym, or his friends. I told him that I managed to balance 3 jobs and studying and he can do the same, he just does not understand that yet. I know he is unhappy with himself, he tells me often. He is not where he wants to be in his career mentally or physically, and I understand that creating change is not easy. I know he perhaps misses his party lifestyle sometimes and being single with his friends, none of whom are in relationships. He wants to go overseas with them, which is fine. I compromise a lot because I love him and want him to be happy. His lack of honesty frustrates me because I can see that he suppresses it all. I am uncertain about what I should do. I leave for a trip this weekend and want to talk to him. I have discussed this with my closest friends, 2 of whom were present the other week when I was very drunk. They have been out with me many times, and while I wasn't at my worst, I acknowledge that I was drunk. I love him immensely and do not want this to end. I want to work through this. How can I move forward with him? I recognize that he has indirectly indicated that I do not meet the standards he has for me in his mind, but how can I discover what those standards are if he does not tell me when I ask? Should I try again to ask him what he does not like about me? He might avoid telling me because I will get upset, but I genuinely want to know so that I am not left guessing. How long should I allow him space? Should I maintain contact with him? I did inquire if he still wants to attend an event for which we have tickets tomorrow, but I acknowledge that he still needs his time and space. He is still messaging me and sharing things that I like, but yes, has anyone else experienced something similar? Am I doing the right thing? Summary: my boyfriend's dissatisfaction with my drinking has now evolved into deeper issues, revealing that he does not love all aspects of me and feels that he should. He wants some space, but I feel confused since it seems he has had these feelings for a while without communicating them. I am uncertain about how to proceed. Story 3. After almost a year of silence, I'm haunted by questions about a friendship that faded without warning. Did we care too much or were we toxic? Now I stand at a crossroads, reach out and risk heartbreak again or hold on to my peace. What should I do? I have been in a strange place mentally recently, and to be quite honest, as I start writing this, I am not sure whether I am doing it to express my thoughts or seek advice. However, anyone who reads this and wishes to provide input, not necessarily advice, would be appreciated. I, 22 female, have been experiencing waves of thoughts and feelings regarding a platonic friendship that ended unexpectedly about 10 months ago. He, 22 male, and I undoubtedly had our ups and downs throughout our 4-year friendship. We would often have periods where we talked a lot and were truly great friends to one another. But there were also times when we would not communicate for days, weeks, or even months. Sometimes this lack of communication felt entirely random. Life was hectic for both of us, but on other occasions, it was due to some form of disagreement that, in hindsight, I realize was typically addressed with silence instead of open discussion. What feels odd to me now is that during the times we supported each other as friends should, we were genuinely there for one another, listening and communicating openly. There was no judgment, just open ears and a complete commitment to being present whenever we needed each other. As I reflect while I write, it seems strange to me that at times we would both become so caught up in our own lives that we could not even take the time to confront and discuss the actual issues in our friendship. Part of me wants to believe that we sometimes cared too much for one another, or perhaps we were simply two very stubborn college students with our individual circles of friends and lives. Yet we still made an effort to find time for one another. even if it meant a flurry of text messages. Sometimes sending 20 messages at a time instead of communicating face-to-face. I felt a strong sense of frustration when we would have these moments of heated conversation followed by silence the next day. I felt guilty bringing up any feelings of annoyance or expressing concerns because I knew they did not bother him, and that was just the nature of our friendship. I was aware that this tendency existed on both sides, so I did not want to point fingers. Toward the end, I recognized that my subconscious frustration with our inconsistent communication significantly impaired my judgment regarding the situation. To be completely honest, there was no significant conflict or disagreement that resulted in our 10 months of no communication. We had hung out about a week prior and everything felt completely normal and pleasant. If my memory serves me correctly, we even had a deep in-person conversation just before this issue arose, discussing topics such as life and mental health. I became emotional and felt very vulnerable, but it was not the first time we had shared such meaningful dialogue. We had intended to do something together again soon, but those plans never materialized and I did not hear from him again. I did make a slight joke or jab, depending on one's perspective, in the very last text message I sent him, but in no way was it something so offensive or disrespectful that it warranted a complete cutoff of communication. The message was not even 7 words long. Honestly, I was and still am somewhat hurt that he has never responded to me. Even if it was merely a silly little jab, we had experienced much larger disagreements before, so something so minor did not seem like a valid reason for silence. I kept telling myself, and my friends echoed after those initial weeks and months of no contact, that if we were truly good friends, we would have resolved the issue and moved past it. For a time, I managed to rationalize the situation and, to be honest, forget about it. However, recently I have found myself thinking about him and our friendship frequently. Why did it really end? Were we not as good of friends as it seemed? Were we actually both toxic to one another, secretly enjoying the chaos? Did we care about each other too deeply? Did he ever finish the artwork he was creating for me? How has he been? Why do we still have each other's locations even though we have not spoken in nearly a year? Now that almost a year has gone by, I feel a strong urge to reach out. So much has happened that I know I would have shared with him, and I am also interested in how he has been. Yet I find myself at a crossroads within. If we truly were a toxic friendship, I have spent nearly a year attempting to move on and heal, so do I risk all that progress for what may end up being the same situation again? Would he even want to talk to me? On the other hand, I remind myself that our opportunity to reconnect may be dwindling, as I am aware we are both in the same city now, although he often talked about going abroad after graduation. And so I face this dilemma. Should I try to reach out, risking failure and potential hurt again, or should I not reach out and never know, thereby preserving my peace? Are these thoughts merely surfacing because we are approaching the 1-year mark and post-graduation feels strange? If I do decide to reach out, should I text or call? I like to think we have both changed and grown. Summary: it has been nearly a year without communication in what was a platonic friendship, 22 female, 22 male. There was no significant conflict or argument that caused this silence, although our 4-year friendship may have had some toxicity. Should I reach out?